Another of my Summer Backlog challenge lists has fallen, so it's time for another review. This time it's the turn of the latest entry in the Infamous series from Sucker Punch. Now, while I own both Infamous and Infamous 2 for the PlayStation 3, I'm afraid to say that I've only played a little bit of the first one and none at all of the second, so this review will pretty much be from the point of view of a complete newbie to the series. I have heard that some folks who loved the first two games weren't so hot on the third, but I have nothing to judge it by at this stage. I definitely want to go back and play the other games at some point though. Now, let's begin the review. Initially, main character Johson does come across as a bit of a dick, and even late into the game he still retains a certain knobbish quality. The way he revels in his powers is quite fun though, and the interactions with his brother Reggie are well done. I ended up kind of liking him in the end. Side characters Fetch and Eugene are also fun additions to the cast, though they don't hang around for very long. Basically, each one gets their own portion of the game where Johson first chases them down and gets their powers, then either redeems or corrupts them in a couple of missions. Fetch was so popular that she was given her own spin-off DLC, First Light, which I have yet to play but I do own thanks to it being given away via PS Plus a few months ago. Finally, I really liked Augustine, the main villain. This tyrannical redhead with concrete powers is legitimately intimidating, and it's fun to take her down. Even now, Infamous Second Son remains one of the prettiest PS4 games I've seen, despite being released quite early in the life of the console. Of course, the game benefits from being a Sony exclusive and not having to be optimised across multiple platforms, but even so the game still looks very, very nice indeed. From the picturesque opening in and around a longhouse near the sea, to the sprawling environs of Seattle, and quite spectacular to behold. The visual highlight is most definitely the neon power that you acquire from Fetch, with bright pink streaks trailing behind your character, and a special attack that blows the shit out of absolutely everything around you. Very impressive. While there were one or two tracks that have stuck in the mind after I've finished playing, most of the soundtrack from the game isn't all that memorable to me. My favourite tune of them all is the laid-back, quiet one that plays when you're simply exploring and not blowing stuff up. You can hear it in the background of this review. Troy Baker heads up a solid voice acting cast, and even lends his likeness to the game as well as his vocal talents. Laura Bailey is also very good as Fetch for the brief time she appears, and Christine Dunford is chilling as Brooke Augustine. Each of the powers have their own signature sound effects, which are also very well done. On the whole, not a bad job. If the music had stood out just a little more, the game would have got a 9 in this category. Infamous Second Son follows the now well-established open-world template, a series of story missions surrounded by a range of side activities that are repeated many times throughout the different districts of the city. You have secret agents to track down and detain from amongst the crowd, hidden cameras to find and destroy, many tracker drones to hunt down and extract valuable blast shards from, which can be used to upgrade your powers, and graffiti tags to spray. This last one doesn't really require any skill, but I did think it made quite nice use of the DualShock 4's motion capabilities, which no other game has utilised since, to the best of my knowledge. The upcoming PS4 version of Tearaway will use the controller in some interesting ways though. All of the activities are just fun enough that I went through and did them all, but none of them are particularly amazing either. My least favourite has to be finding the hidden cameras, but after I turned up the brightness setting a bit, I had a much easier time spotting them. The other main element of the game is of course the superpowers. I'm only going to mention the first two here in this review, though you may also see some footage of the third one. The fourth will remain a secret for you to discover yourself. Anyway, at the start of the game, Johson accidentally acquires smoke powers from an escaped conduit, which lets you travel through grates and vents, fire cinder missiles, do a ground pound and more. A short way into the story you then get the neon powers from Fetch, which allow you to zap around at great speeds, and has the most spectacular special attack of them all in my opinion. The neon powers were definitely my favourite, so I stuck with them for most of the rest of the game, only changing when the story dictated it. The powers have a good mix of offensive, defensive and locomotive skills that allow you to zip around the city nice and quickly. The superpowers in the game are both novel and inventive, but the game does feel a little templated overall, as I touched upon earlier. It feels very much like a Ubisoft by-the-numbers open-world game, where you do a thing that opens up a part of the world and reveals a bunch of side activities. Then you go and clear them out, rinse and repeat. It's still fun, but definitely not innovative at this stage. Infamous Second Son is a pretty short game, even if you were to do absolutely everything that there is to do in the game. It's about 10 hours tops. That feels about right though, much longer and the game would have started to outstay its welcome. Throughout the game you're given the opportunity to earn good or bad karma through your actions, which changes up the story a little bit and results in a different ending, so you can get some replay value out of it if you want to go through the story both ways. I might do this after a little time has passed, but for now I'm satisfied with what I've got. As for price, the game can be picked up for around 20 quid, which I think is good value. Infamous Second Son is a fun, technically accomplished title that can be finished off in a few extended sessions, and is generally a good time while it lasts. If you haven't played this series at all yet, but have enjoyed stuff like the Assassin's Creed series, the Prototype games, or the Batman Arkham franchise, then I think you would enjoy this style of game too. As I mentioned, I do definitely want to go back and play the other two games in the series, which I've been told are the better games. We shall see one day. Stay tuned for more reviews and other content coming soon to RMGB TV.